Hello and welcome, and thank you for joining me today for an exciting announcement that I'll have later on to make. But before we'll do that, we have to talk a little bit about the life cycle of open source projects. Many of you are using these projects, maybe even a maintainer or contributor like myself. So let's see what there is to understand about this. Successful open source projects, they grow and blossom. Unsuccessful ones stay small, but the ones you all know about and love, they become useful and feature-rich, and then they gain adoption and users, companies get formed around them, communities get created, and hopefully they ship lots of releases with new features, new improvements, bug fixes, great performance, and integrations with other systems. So life is good. Everything is rosy and cool. Everyone loves the project. However, beyond the peak, sometimes is a desert ahead. Competing projects arise, contributors become less, they maybe even leave, new ones come on board, feature development might slow down, releases might become a rarity, and the adoption then also wanes because people look at the project and go and look wondering, is this still alive? And a sad fact is that sometimes it's kind of not alive anymore. The feature development and bug fixes pretty much stop. Dependency update stops. When that happens, security issues accumulate, releases slow down or completely stop, and then the project is left unmaintained. Maybe it's even archived or it's moved to some other project place where it's in a read-only fashion. So that's very sad for many of these projects and people involved in that. And it's also terrible for the users. And that's the problem, right? Like these projects become stale and effectively dead, maybe even before they get archived. But there's still lots of users out there that love and using these projects and depend on them, and companies also rely on them. With this slowed down or even stopped maintenance, trouble creeps in and gets more and more problematic. The slowed down dependency updates or stop dependency updates mean that vulnerabilities automatically creep in because all the libraries, more and more issues are found over time. Then because the versions are not upgraded, the releases that are no longer existing means that you have to use the old releases. Those use the old dependencies, which have more discovered security issues. So you're essentially by just staying on an old version, you're becoming more and more a target of security issues, and even a target of more elaborate attacks. For example, the xcutils exploit a while ago was created by a person who stepped up and gained the trust of the original maintainers so much so that they became a new maintainer, and then they shipped a new official release, and that contained exploits. So the fact that maintenance stopped doesn't mean at all that you can continue to use the software. It means that the trouble started and it continues to grow and it continues to affect everyone that uses that software. Luckily, there is the new Chainguard EmeritOSS project in which we are trying to increase the health span of these beloved open source projects and give them a longer time to successfully be used by all the users out there in the community. So what do we do in EmeritOSS? Well, we provide a home for these successful abandoned open source projects by creating public forks. And we then increase the project health span, so the time that these projects can be safely used, by maintaining them more going forward. So we update the dependencies so we can resolve all the security issues. We update specifically also security issues. So if there's minor code changes necessary for these security issues where they become available, we put them out. And then importantly also, we cut new releases so that new versions become available with those updated dependencies. Even though the code base itself doesn't change much, the fact that these dependencies are updated means that the overall quality of the project continues to at least be maintained safely, and therefore it's going to be okay to continue using those projects. We also create container images when customers request them as part of EmeritOSS. So what do you gain from that? Well, you can continue to use that open source project safely, even in production or wherever you're going to use it. Whatever was your original use case, you continue to use that, and we provide you therefore extended life and extended time to use that software in your legacy use cases. We also provide you more time to potentially migrate to a new system without the urgency that suddenly, oh, it's no longer officially allowed because there's no official version or so. We are basically creating new releases. You can continue to have the benefit of some security fixes, and if necessary, or if a community ends up stepping up again, we provide a base that can then be forked and potentially maintained going forward again if that so happens. But at least at a minimum, it's going to continue to be available for the use with those upgrades. On the other hand, we will not be performing any new feature development or even bug fixes where they become elaborate and potentially like border to new feature development. For that reason, also issues and pull requests are turned off in those repositories. So you might be wondering, what are our first projects? Well, a few months ago, we kind of already started EmeritOSS with Kaneko, a tool that allows you to build containers on containers. So in your Kubernetes clusters, you can build other new containers to then run again in a Kubernetes cluster and so on. It's a safe and high performance way to do that. Some of our original founders and engineers from Chainguard were initially involved at Kaneko a long time ago, and we are still committed to maintaining and working on this project. The next project we also now started to pull into our EmeritOSS effort is KubeApps. KubeApps is a web app that is quite widely used, and it's used to administrate Kubernetes clusters and the related resources. And we've done a whole bunch of upgrades on the dependencies for that already. I'll show you more a little bit later. And last but not least, the next candidate that we had lots of people ask us to help with maintaining is Ingress NGINX, which is an Ingress controller for Kubernetes, where NGINX is used as a reverse proxy and load balancer into the Kubernetes clusters, or in and out, obviously. All of those projects and lots more details can be found at our GitHub organization Chainguard Forks. Let's have a look. All right, you see here our Chainguard Forks organization on GitHub and our Kaneko project here with the updated README and more information on the various containers that are available out of this and documentation. Specifically also as an example, if you look at a commit history here, this is just recently, you see December 9th, and this goes back, and there's been a lot of security updates. I can go and scroll, there are many pages. This is everything that happened since June, so we cut many releases since then, and Kaneko continues to be used successfully by many people, and they all benefit from these security updates. Next up, looking at KubeApps, which hasn't been forked as long as Kaneko, so it doesn't have as many changes. You can see here there's 4 commits. Looking at the commits, however, there is a few README updates hiding in here, which not that critical, but this initial commit here to modernize and update the KubeApps dependencies is quite significant. If you look here, there's lots of upgrades on various versions, Go, various libraries, linters, and other aspects. You see here various ones also for the Kubernetes Helm chart and other updates. So there's lots and lots of updates sprinkled in this. So alone, this change alone already makes for a nice new KubeApps application to use more safely than the one that was retired recently. And going forward, of course, we will keep that up. So that should be pretty good. Last but not least, we can look at Ingress NGINX here, which is not yet archived by upstream, but will be in March. It has been announced. So to get the hang of it and get a better understanding of the project, we are already working on it and looking on the potential work necessary. For now, we've not done any significant work apart from better understanding the stack and updating some of the README and other information. But we are going to be ready to roll when this project fully is archived in March. Now that we had a first look at the first 3 projects, Kaneko, KubeApps, and Ingress NGINX at github.com/chainguardforks, what are your next steps? Well, go have a closer look, see what we updated, see if you like it, and if you want to use this project as a container image, you can request access to it as a customer. If you're aware of any other project that you depend on and you think might be necessary for you to continue to be evolved in terms of security updates at least, and you would like us to have a look and potentially pull it into EmeritOSS, here is a URL, getchainguard.dev EmeritOSS submission, where you can submit any ideas around this. Also, we're happy to chat with you more and provide and find out about your feedback about our effort, and you can join the Chainguard community Slack to do that. Thank you again for joining me today. Hopefully you learned something about the life cycle of open source projects and how it's not always as obvious as it seems what's going on, and hopefully we can help with EmeritOSS to expand the health span of those projects that you all depend on.